Chapter 11. Their fourth day continues. Climbing the crest of the hill, the intrepid trio mounted the highest point on Washtray Island, Wart Hill. Standing upright, the wind was much stronger up here. Looking out across the land displayed the grandest view they'd seen thus far on their trip, a 360-degree, unhindered panoramic view. Far below them lay expansive farm fields dotted with round golden hay bales, like oversized shredded wheat spilt about on rectangular saucers. Equally impressive were acres and acres of rugged, low-lying heather hills, gorse wilderness, and no trees, apart from a few confined forested areas. They could spot the Harrowing hoose from the direction they'd just come, peeking up through the small wooded area in the south, the main village far down by the east coast, and the kirk further to the north. The kids held on to each other as the strong breeze continued to pummel them, streaking unchecked across the open land. Although they'd had an unusually blessed week weather-wise, the conundrum in the Porkney Isles seemed to be, is it so windy here because of the lack of trees? Or are there no trees here because it's just so bloomin' windy? "Do you think Tony will be okay where we left him?" Hughie asked his sister, raising his voice above the noise. "I'm sure he'll be grand," she replied, tucking her chin in just a bit. After their game of tag, helping rescue Hugo from the septic tank, albeit a bit tentatively, and grabbing a bit of lunch, they'd let Tony the pony carry them up into the hills, where they'd tethered him to a rotting fence post. "We can go back for him on the way home," said Tarzan, stating the obvious. "But I want to check out those cliffs over there first." The boys ran along the ridge, whooping and hollering into the gusts, trying their mightiest to be heard by the whole island. Yeah, not gonna happen. Their tiny voices were ripped from their throats and hurled far out to sea. Melody unzipped her jacket, held open the flaps like wings, and leaned straight into the wind. It was strong enough to support her body weight to the point where she was able to go beyond normal tipping point. "Whee!" she cried, able to enjoy yet another simple pleasure in life. The boys followed suit, trying to outdo each other, seeing who could lean over the furthest without falling flat on their face. Both of them lost. "I'm fly, plonk. Ha! Check me out, backwards." Clothing flapping violently, Hugo leaned back as far as he could, the power of the breeze supporting him, up to a point. "Woohoo! Arg! Whomp! Oh, me arse!" Tarzan pointed and laughed at him, trying to get up straight-legged, clutching his sore tailbone. "Are ye all right, laddie? Have you got a thistle up your rectum?" he said, rolling his R's in mock Scottish accent. Melody went on ahead, giggling at the boys' usual antics, allowing the moving air to help float her along. Catching up to her, they slowed their pace, approaching the edge of some very steep cliffs, plunging straight into the North Sea. Looking out over the west coast, massive waves rolled towards them far below, crashing with booming force against the vertical rock face. White spray surged high up into the air with wet noise. Careful not to allow the wind to push them over, they felt like they were standing at the edge of the world. "I really think I can fly," joked Tarzan, seagulls swooping past them, taunting them. "Shut up, Tar, not even funny." Hugo took a step back to safety. Melody agreed. "Please don't joke like that. It's really dangerous up here." "Yeah, come back here a bit, Tarzapan. You're making us nervous." Wannabe Peter Pan complied. The three of them stood back from the cliffs, holding on to one another for reassurance. Silenced by the stunning scene below them, they absorbed a sense of great reverence and horror. The unstoppable momentum and impact of the ocean body was a testament to the awesome nature of creation. They did not want to mess with it. Then Melody farted. "Mel!" scolded her brother, horrified. "That's mingin'. Girls don't fart." "Nicely done," Tarzan approved, but not before burying his nose safely inside the front of his jacket. Mercifully, the elements took care of any lingering odors, sparing them from evidence of true equality between the sexes. Both genders can smell rather potent. On second thought, perhaps that's an area of inequality, because little girls sure can stink. Mel tittered her embarrassment. "I'm sorry, it just came out." "You're not my sister." "We should probably go get Tony and head back soon," Tar suggested, noticing clouds darkening the horizon. "Yop," agreed Hugo. "Dad said not to be late for dinner time." Here's a little unasked for insight. Mums might say to their kids, "Don't be late for dinner," because they're more worried about the food getting cold. Whereas dads might say, "Don't be late for dinner time," because they're more concerned with their kids adhering to a responsible, strict schedule and not being out too late. You're welcome. By the time it took for them to struggle their way back to the summit of the hill and then down to where they'd tied up their sturdy pony, they realized it would take a bit longer returning to the hoose than anticipated. They were late for dinner time. After evening chores, Dad instructed the kids to go upstairs and get into their pajamas. They were welcome to come back down to the study and read a comic book if they liked, as long as they had flossed and brushed their teeth and were all ready for bed. On their way, they overheard Kruger say something quietly to Dad, like, "I'd better go check up on her," or something like that. Her? Who's her? The only other staying at the Harrowing house is the pony, and Tony is a him. Intrigued, they conspired to spy on their host to see what he might be getting up to and whom he might be meeting. Excited, they ran to get ready. Upstairs, the kids had an oriental theme going on. Melody had slipped into a darling kimono onesie with wide pink sash and loose flowing sleeves, all delicately embroidered with flapping cranes and lotus flowers. Carefully smoothing her outfit, she met the others outside their rooms. The boys, of course, had on matching black ninja onesies and were busy sparring with each other in the dimly lit hallway. Cloven toes kicking and flailing arms blocking, they fought their way down the stairs and back towards the kitchen. Mel, arms folded hidden in opposite silky sleeves in front of her, shuffled behind at a polite distance. Spying Kruger further down the hall, the night warriors instantly blended into the walls. After a brief freeze, they silently detached and stalked him for a bit, before stopping and mashing into the walls again. Kruger's back was towards them while their masked eyes suspiciously followed him. He paused for a moment, then looked both ways before turning down the stairs leading to the basement. "Come on," motioned Tarzan, before somersaulting down the running carpet. The others leapt and shuffled after him in their pajamas, adorable as anything. Kruger had finished getting what he'd needed from the small storage room. Having donned his hooded oilskin coat and lit the lantern in preparation for his familiar routine, he shut the door behind him, heading for the basement tool room. Once entering, he went straight for the wheelbarrow leaning against the wall. Resting the lantern on the nearby workbench, he grabbed hold of the wheelbarrow handles and pulled. The secret revolving wall, thus activated, exposed the tunnel leading beneath the house all the way through to the back door. With a satisfied nod of approval, Kruger picked up his lantern and disappeared into the tunnel. Spying from behind the tool room door, Hugo urged everyone forward and into the dark passageway. Tarzan, thinking quick, grabbed another small torch from off the shelf and slipped it into his pajama pocket. The boys jostled with each other despite their attempts to follow silently behind as shadowy ninjas. "Stop grabbing me!" Tarzan hissed to Hugo, slapping at his hand. "We have to stick close to the walls or he'll see us," Hugo insisted, gripping onto Tarzan and pressing his back against the sloping dirt wall. "I am," came back the defensive response. "You're the one who keeps sticking out like a bumbling beluga." Freeing himself from his friend's annoying restraints, he stepped away, moving closer to Melody. "I'm not a bumbling beluga!" Indignant, Hugo the assassin launched himself from the wall with an ambitious 360-degree roundhouse spin kick. Aiming for Tar's head, he got his sister's arm instead. "Ow!" she whispered in protest, rubbing the sore spot. While the assassin wobbled woefully off balance, facing the wrong way, Tar of the Orient rushed him in defense of Mel the Mandarin Maiden. Quick as a throwing star, he flew at him with both karate chops flying. "Hi-ya! Take that, you poor excuse for a ninja. I'd spot you like a blue baboon playing tuba in a sushi bar." "Oh yeah? Well, you're about as lethal as a soggy pair of chopsticks." The cloth warriors began trading samurai sword slices, sparring back and forth. "Ha! Eat my blade, spaz assassin." "Ooh, scary, you cherry blossom." "Whatever, Bruce Sleep." Hugo the assassin fended off the blows and retreated to the other side. Pulling out his bamboo blowgun from the black folds of his gi, he fired poisonous dart after poisonous dart. Tar of the Orient deflected the deadly assault with the skill and ease that only a trained master poisonous dart deflector could. Unfortunately, the delicate Mandarin Maiden was in harm's way, becoming a silk-covered pincushion for lethal needles. "No!" mouthed the master dart deflector, dramatically diving for the darling damsel of his dreams. "You've murdered my Keisha!" Up ahead, Kruger had stopped momentarily, smiling to himself from within his dark hood. Without turning his head, his eyes shifted to the side, now fully aware of the young stealth mission going on behind him. Raising his lantern again, he continued slowly on through the winding tunnel.